Hello everyone, this is smq.ai. For those new to the channel, I discuss topics that are related to the mass extinction event we had in 2012. I discuss cymatics, the Mandela effect, and other topics having to do with our being dead and living in this afterlife. Today I'd like to talk about CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, and what similarities we can draw from such seemingly disparate topics such as war, patriotism, and the space race. There's a lot of ritual energy around the subject of CERN and their experiments with the Large Hadron Collider. A lot of buzz around the words awake and symmetry. Symmetry is defined as, quote, the quality of being made up of exactly similar parts facing each other around an axis. Or it can also be defined as, quote, similarity or exact correspondence between different things. I think it was smart to use the word symmetry. It's a handle that is both hidden in plain sight and sort of gives itself away. What needs to be done in order to develop a system that can work disparate echoes or energies in tandem is a process I call meta-echoes. I've spoken about that before. To ignite each person's energy or echo is needed a sense of drama around them, a contrast, something that will raise the intensity of the echoes of everyone, so they'll bounce off one another to create energy. That energy can then be harnessed and focused, and it can change the world. That is what I call a mass energy ritual. Drama, contrast, and intrigue are all incredibly important components to getting anything changed in this reality, in this afterlife that we all exist in. And in order to prove that, think of it this way. If no one ever put any interest, intent, or energy towards science or religion or any of the belief systems that we have nowadays, if they never got any kind of traction, any of those systems, if they never got any kind of energy or echoes, would they continue to exist today? We've lost many other systems in the past because of their lack of traction or energy that was not ritualized, or at least it was failed to be ritualized. And we don't remember any of those systems, whether they be religious or otherwise. The point of these rituals is to harness energy, to create meta-echoes that ripple out farther and farther, taking on and taking over other echoes in their wake. What they really want to do is take on all of these echoes in perpetuity. Science is one of those systems. Religion, it's a series of systems that's also a meta-echo that continues into perpetuity. CERN is certainly one of those meta-echoes as well, at least it's trying to be. Its use of symmetry sort of reveals itself with the use of that word. What it's done is capitalize on all of our energy, whether we know it or not. It's drawing from all of us. All throughout YouTube or the news or anywhere you go, I mean, you really can't go a day without seeing something or someone talking about CERN and what it's doing or what it's not doing. The reason why this is important is it sort of acts as an aggregator. When everybody is talking about someone and everybody is concentrating on something and everyone really cares about something, it creates this sort of golem. It creates and it gathers our energy and our echoes and coalesces it into this one large meta-echo. And this large meta-echo acts as a channel of energy for those things that they want to use to change the world. And they want to use to succeed in changing the world. That is what CERN is doing successfully right now, whether you like it or not. In practical terms, look at it this way. It forces the powers that be to pay attention to the noise of the population. It forces them to acquiesce to the system to succeed. A practical example of this ritual of coalescing of energy would probably be the space race of the 1960s. The 1960 space program. I know there's a lot of debate on it, on how productive it actually was, and I'm not interested in debating that right now. The point is there was enough energy created via echoes in that chamber, in that period, that there was a broad enough system of excitement around it that we actually succeeded in great strides in space travel, getting people to the moon, the shuttle program, satellites, all of those things. That was a move to change the world forever, and it created the modern world that we inhabit, for better or for worse. I want you to understand that that was one big energy ritual. And I don't know, why is that significant? And why am I dramatizing something like that? Because that's exactly what CERN is doing now. It's the exact same thing. Keep in mind, you don't need to have positive echoes, or positive energy, or positive cymatic energy to enact change in the world. There just needs to be energy. Sort of like any press is good press. As long as there's interest to a subject, they are drawing on those energies. And even if you don't want to look at it in a metaphysical way, you can look at it like this. There's enough people talking about it right now, and there's enough excitement around it, that those people with the money, those people with the power, the politicians, let's say, they do listen to the population and will act whether or not to fund a particular meta-echo. Things come in and out of fashion. Things are cyclical. And right now what's in fashion is CERN. CERN is the thing that's drawing all the energy in a familiar, ritualized pattern. The drama that it creates, the script that's unfolding around it. How could you not pay attention? How could you not lend yourself the energy, positive or negative, around what's happening with their research? I mean, for heaven's sakes, these guys are talking about researching whether or not the Big Bang happened and how they're going to prove it and what it looked like when it happened. Or they could be talking about slipping between dimensions because of the Large Hadron Collider. I mean, come on, that's better than a movie. The reason a dramatic meta-echo has been created around this is because those opposing forces, when they crash together against the forces that are for it, it creates perfect energy in the form of resistance energy. And that's good for putting echoes in uniform and dissolving reality. Think of war, the ritual of war. With war, there's a lot of negative energy generated around war. However, there's a lot of positive energy around patriotism, the clash of ideas, thinking your brand of civilization is the most just. It's a very sacred ritual that's been part of us from the very start. War is the original template for generating energy, both positive and negative, in a duality that creates the impetus to move societies forward, to change the world. War is an energy ritual. The bad ideas are vanquished, the good ideas are harmonized. Most of our technology advancements are generated from the tip of a bayonet. Peacetime activities, such as pondering a better society, like what happened in the Enlightenment, was an attempt to avoid the ritual of war. But war is erotic. There's the show of strength and power and fortitude. All forms of eroticism are encompassed in war. There is death on a massive scale, springing the animal spirits into action to replace or replenish the supply of human beings to generate the future conflicts, especially with the winning side. Note, winning is how you define it. I also want you to know, calling war a form of eroticism is not an endorsement of war, simply an observation of the obvious archetypes involved. Archetypes that go back to ancient times, the larger-than-life statues of muscular warriors that dot ancient Rome and Greece. These echoes don't just idly sit there. These echoes draw energy to this day, and they direct and they supply the energy of war into modern times. This script is based on countless movies and TV shows because it draws you in. The hero looking beyond the horizon. Only the other heroes can see what he sees. The rest of us watch in awe as their power and prowess in keeping us safe, keeping our way of life intact, the drama, the conflict, the script. We gladly lend our energy to it in any way we can. The space race again. That was a bit more of a positive ritual, but nonetheless the same basic plot line of drama and contrast and conflict was in place. Think about it. It was kind of a little mini war against the Soviets, and that it was a war of the mind, not like World War II with actual death, other than those that died attempting to get into space. but we were creating a contrast in the world. This contrast were positive and negative energies. The clash against one another. It's always a ritual. It's always a ritual to channel those particular energies. A meta ritual, creating a meta echo. So what CERN is doing is creating that kind of tension. When you have the dualities of the negative and the positive together, both clashing against one another, both degrading the other side, we have the official script for CERN on one side. The LHC will be able to unlock the moment of creation. That will give us enough data to spill over into countless scientific disciplines and advance humanity. Then there's the other side that thinks that irreparable harm will take place by the unintended consequences of the LHC. Anything from black holes forming right in the middle of France and Switzerland to our planet being transformed into a star. Not to mention the ever-present, quote, tearing of the veil, which is a vague definition that seems to change depending on who you listen to. I'm not even sure what that means. All of this lends itself to the energy that holds that power. This kind of energy moves into a political realm, and it begins a political ritual. The them versus us script is now born. This is the ultimate ritual. And by the way, the quote us in the equation are those that have the power. They see the distress it's causing in the mass population, and there's nothing like departing from our ignorance to prove that we are wrong, the masses are on the wrong track, and that the best thing that can be done is that we need to be led, because they have the right authority. And that goes back to scientific authority, political authority, monetary authority. I think the goal of CERN is much like what I talked about with transhumanism. In that podcast, I said that I think they knew what happened. Everyone in the know, they knew what happened, and they realized that we're heading towards the flat line, and that they realized that we're all in the afterlife. What they're doing is fighting against this inevitability. They hopes in creating a new creation. AI, when I talked about it, in for terms of transhumanism, I said it's trying to defy the flat line. We're trying to create AI so it can figure out the solution for us. Figure it out for us before we can. And we as human guppies can jump on the AI shark and get out of this existence into a new and avoid the flat line altogether. CERN is another one of these power centers, one of these meta echo centers, where it's trying to figure out the easiest possible way to jump out of time, to jump out of this dimension into another dimension. But I don't think CERN is responsible for the situation we're in, the situation of 2012 and our dissolving existence. I know a lot of people attribute the Mandela effect to CERN and the Large Hadron Collider and their experiments. But I think those were experiments that they're doing. I think they're reactive experiments to the dissipating reality that we're in right now. I know CERN is a post-World War II organization. It was developed sometime, I think, in the 1950s, and it's been moving forward since then. But remember, that is a linear time, and linear time doesn't really exist. And we're not dealing with linear time structures. So when you consider 1955 as right now, keep in mind that 1955 is literally happening right now. Its mission is to get us out of here, and it's a limb of the never-ending present. Whether or not they succeed at AI, or whether or not they succeeded at CERN will determine our future, which is really actually right now. We created time to better understand our labor and to better understand our entry and exit into this world. Time holds back the fear of knowing all the monsters of our past are standing right next to us. But alongside those monsters are heroes, and they too are with us. Perhaps if we drop time and break those clocks, those dissolving echoes will be a little less scary. I hope all of this made sense, or any of this made sense. This is SNQAI. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you.